My name is Emily Stoller. I'm here to talk to you about sustainably supplying our species. I have a PhD in chemistry and have spent about the last 2 decades working to develop sustainable products through greener chemistries. And I'm here today to just bring up some facts and figures and ideas that I come across in my everyday life and feel obligated to tell pretty much anybody who will listen to me. So the temperature on our planet has increased by 1 degree. We are obligated, we're locked into the effects of this increase, which include extreme weather, increased sea levels, and decreased biodiversity. And the extraction and processing of natural resources from the earth accounts for more than 90% of our biodiversity loss and water stress, and at least half the global greenhouse gas emissions. This processing and extracting is where we get the building blocks for the stuff we want. And we want a lot of stuff. Global resource use has tripled since 1970 to reach 92 billion tons in 2017. But the thing is, our global material productivity has not improved much in the last 20 years. So the way we get access to these natural resources just hasn't changed a lot. I also think it's important to note that the high-income countries consume 27 tons of material per person versus low-income countries where it's only 2 tons per person annually. So in high-income countries, we have an obligation to address this issue because we're really the ones responsible for creating this. So what has to change? Can we even imagine a positive relationship between humans? Recently, I was reading a book called Braiding Sweetgrass by an ecologist named Robin Walkenmeyer, and she was asking her ecology students about their ability to recognize a negative relationship between humans and the earth. And they were very clear on that, 100% confidence 10. But when asked to describe a positive relationship, they were at a 0. It was impossible for them to picture a genuine positive relationship between humans and the earth. And these are experts in this relationship. And so what has to change? What are we going to do? What can we start? If we can't imagine it, we can't change it. A sustainable relationship between humans and the environment requires us from moving from consumers to citizens of the Commonwealth. We can't just strip this cupboard bare because there just really isn't anywhere else to go. So we need better extraction of natural resources. How do we get better access to those building blocks for all the things we want? Today, I'm going to focus for the purposes of this talk on fossil fuels, because that's really where I live. A lot of the materials that I'm interested in developing are things like clothing, packaging, appliances, these sort of end use materials. And for the most part, the building blocks for those are petrochemical based. However, we do have options. Biomanufacturing is a manufacture of products using bioprocesses and capitalizing on nature's oldest tools, including enzymes, fermentation, and microorganisms. So we can get these building block chemicals through different processes that aren't just stripping resources bare. And then once we have those resources, we need to know what to do with them. Currently, only a small proportion of the resources we take from the earth are converted into desired products in the current chemical processes. Therefore, we produce more than 400 million tons of hazardous waste each year. Luckily, there have been a lot of people thinking about this for a while now. In the 1990s, John Warner and Paul Anastas published a book called Green Chemistry Theory and Practice. And in it, they laid out the 12 principles of green chemistry, ways to develop green processes, chemical processes that have greenness involved. And this looks like obvious material: atom economy, waste prevention, less hazardous. But the thing is, when I went through my master's in natural product synthesis, this was not relevant material and still isn't for a lot of, it's very Machiavellian the way you get to a molecule. It doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get there. Green chemistry itself has really burgeoned, has really blown up as a field. There are journal articles dedicated. I just recently attended the 25th annual Green Chemistry Conference. So we really are building up our toolbox. Green chemistry is a multidisciplinary field at this point that covers areas that include synthesis, solvents, catalysts, raw materials and products, and energy efficient processes. And the thing that I want to sort of close with is that we have the tools. And the thing that I've run across with large and small companies is that no one wants to put the front end investment into what it would take to implement a greener process, even if they're going to win on the other side, because the hazardous material cleanup isn't going to be there. And the only thing that I've ever seen that changes people's minds is when the government comes in and says, this process or this material is no longer going to be allowed in 10 years. And then suddenly people are interested in new processes. So I hope that we can find ways to implement things we already know, because the current situation isn't sustainable, but we do have options. Thanks very much.